It's Sound93 Boxing. I'm back with a quick video. I'm going to go over the advantage and disadvantage that Kell, Brook and Errol Spence has in each of these, in this fight that's coming up in the weekend, May 27th. I still haven't picked a winner. I did say I'm leaning towards Kell Brook. But let me go through all of the advantages and disadvantages. Let's go with Errol Spence. Start with Errol Spence is bigger than Kell Brook physically. Is physically stronger. Kell Brook always has the advantage over many of his opponents of being physically big and strong. Apart from the Golovkin fight, which he did not win, but I'm talking about the wins that he did have against Sean Porter. He was a bigger guy, and Sean Porter's physically built. You know, he's a strong guy. You know, and you know he was able to hold Sean Porter pretty well. I doubt he'll be able to hold Errol Spence as easily as he was able to hold Sean Porter. I'm not saying that he can't. I'm saying that it's more difficult. Errol Spence does look like physically bigger, like more built. He might be the biggest welterweight out there, and that's quite impressive. Kell Brook's big himself. So yeah. And you know, to a point where I feel like Errol Spence is a big 154 fighter. If you look at Errol Spence's style, I know he's a southpaw. Whether that's an advantage and disadvantage, that depends on Kell Brook. We're going to go through that in a bit. Errol Spence is someone, he's a front foot fighter in general. He likes to break you down. Then he likes to finish you off. He doesn't have the, you know, he has power, but he doesn't have that Keith Thurman type of power. That snap on it. He has some snap, and he hits hard, but you know it's more of a heavy-handed guy with a little bit of snap. But Keith Thurman is like a pretty heavy-handed guy with a lot of snap. I do think Keith Thurman is a harder puncher than Errol Spence. His punches, when landed on the face, is more devastating than Errol Spence's. But Errol Spence has very hard body shots. Those heavy punches to the body can definitely wear you out a lot. And you know he's more of a pressure fighter that can box. Kell Brook, we know, has struggled with pressure fighters. Again, I'm not saying Kell Brook will lose the fight. I haven't even come to a prediction yet. Kell Brook is someone who can have difficulty with pressure fighters. We already know this against Carson Jones. Against Sean Porter, he did kind of held a little bit, but it was like Sean Porter still made it difficult. Those type of pressure fighting, right? Triple G, again, like even when Triple G was not, like in the first 10-15 seconds, if you go watch the Kell Brook and Triple G fight, Triple G was not putting a weight behind his punches, right? Like, you know, when the fight begins and the camera's closing in to the fighters, because you know the camera starts off very far away, then it zooms in close to the fighter as the round one begins. If you look close as it zooms in, Triple G was applying pressure by landing just more punches, and Kell Brook was getting outboxed. I mean, I guess Kell Brook might be a little bit of a slow starter, but either way, from what I get the impression is from Carson Jones, from Sean Porter a little bit, he can have problems from people applying pressure on him. And Errol Spence, in my opinion, is a better technically sound fighter than Sean Porter. Sean Porter he's not technically sound. Errol Spence is more technically sound. Errol Spence is not as fast as Sean Porter, but he's still pretty relentless, and I think he's like a better boxer, more intelligent and whatnot, with less experience though. Another thing about Errol Spence is he hits harder than anyone Kell Brook has faced, not named Golovkin. He has good timing. I do think Errol Spence can counterpunch a little bit. Probably better than Triple G, for sure. And also another thing is Errol Spence. He's probably one of the. I mean, I don't know how skilled Errol Spence is himself. I know Triple G is a decently skilled fighter, but I feel like Errol Spence is a better defensive fighter than Triple G. Not saying that Errol Spence is a defensive genius, but it's better than Triple G's defense. And I would say overall, he's a better well-rounded fighter than Triple G. As I said, he can move around better than Triple G. He can move a bit. He can move side to side. And the way he cuts the ring off, I know Triple G cuts the ring off really well as well. But the way Errol Spence cuts the ring off is actually pretty good as well. So even though he's not as strong as Triple G, I feel like he's a bit more technically sound and a bit more defensive minded, which will be beneficial. If he cuts the ring off the way he does, then his trainer, I heard, right? His trainer doesn't believe in head movement on its own. He believes that he should move your whole body away from it. Which, okay, I mean, I wouldn't say that there's no place in head movement. I wouldn't say that it's good to believe in no head movement, but when Errol Spence doesn't himself have any amazing head movement. He kind of moves his body more than anything, right? So even though when he does that, even though it sounds a bit weird, when I see him doing it, it kind of for some reason suits him. Like it makes it seem like as if he's able to do things better. He's more composed. When you move your head away from your center of gravity, because that's really what you're doing. If you're moving your head, you're kind of moving it away from the center of gravity, right? Which means that if you get hit while your head is moved away from the center of gravity, you're more likely to get stunned, dropped, hurt. And also, when you're about to turn to shots, you're probably more likely to have less power in it. You're more confident and a lot more able when you're aligned, when your head and everything is aligned well with the center of gravity. So I think that's one advantage that Errol Spence does have. He is able, when he's cutting the ring off, you notice how he doesn't move his head all too much, but he's moving his body. I'm not saying again he's a defensive genius, because I think Kell Brook has a better defense, at least on the outside. And speaking of the range outside and inside, Errol Spence is a better inside fighter than Kell Brook himself. He's definitely a better, a lot of US fighters tend to be better than UK fighters on the inside. European fighters in general, there are exceptions, I saw Ricky Hatton is a pretty good inside fighter, pretty decent inside fighter, so there are exceptions. But other than that, Errol Spence's advantages are pretty much those. He's probably hungry, very hungry. Kell Brook probably is coming off a Triple G win, a loss, and he probably wanted to fight a guy with more reward than Errol Spence. So the fact that he's fighting Errol Spence, I'm fairly sure it's a bit demotivating to a little extent, and he came off an injury. So, hey, we don't know. We don't know what the eye might be like. I'm hearing that the eye should be fine, and I think the eye should be fine as well. But in case, if the eye is not fine, that's advantage Errol Spence. I hope the eye is fine, man, because in a way I do want Kell Brook to win. He's the UK fighter right here. But yeah, these are pretty much the Errol Spence advantages. Some of the advantage for Kell Brook, he has a terrific jab. Kell Brook has one of the best jabs in boxing. Even though Errol Spence has a decent southpaw jab, that jab that Kell Brook has, he can control his opponents. He can do many things with the jab. I've seen him drop people with the jab. He doesn't have the hardest right hand, but he has a good right hand as well. He has a very accurate, extremely accurate right hand. And this is the reason why I'm slightly leaning towards Kell Brook. I mean, so far I haven't made my full prediction yet, but this is why, as soon as I heard the fight was official, I was leaning towards Kell Brook because of Errol Spence is a southpaw. He's a bit more flat-footed than Kell Brook. Kell Brook has better footwork, has a better jab. I would say he has a little bit of quicker combinations, quicker long-range combinations, and he can definitely land a right hand. He has some pop on it as well. He's got some weight on it, some pop on it on that punch. So yeah, Kell Brook has a very good 1-2, and with his jab, he can jab on the back foot, jab on the front foot. The way he puts his right hand out as well. I mean, it's hard to explain it because I'm talking on the video. I'm not making a video itself. I'm not recording myself. But the way he puts his right hand out, then he puts his right foot out, and next thing you know, that's the southpaw position. And then he uses that right hand as a jab. He has a pretty good jab on the southpaw position as well. So Kell Brook, his fundamentals, his footwork, his jab, his right hand, especially on the long range, is better than Errol Spence. Is way better. Kell Brook, as I said, is a lot more accurate, especially on the long range. Kell Brook is the better long range fighter for sure. Better than Errol Spence. Kell Brook is definitely the harder puncher out of all the opponents that Errol Spence faced. That's for sure. And also, Kell Brook's definitely more experienced. I do believe that I've said this in the past that Kell Brook's experience is a bit mythical because he hasn't fought that many good level oppositions, but neither has Errol Spence. His best level opposition is Chris Algieri, who's a good fighter, man. But Kell Brook has fought Sean Porter, who's been up there against Devin Alexander, Paulie Malignaggi. He's been up there against some good fighters, Julio Diaz. And he also been there with Triple G, you know, so he has been there with better competition. And even though he fought bums, they both fought really bums, to be honest, most of their careers. And even though, like, you know, I'm not saying Errol Spence is picking his bums and shit, because Errol Spence hasn't been a pro for a long time, but at the end of the day, Kell Brook has fought better oppositions. He has, and therefore more experience. Even though they fought bums most of their career, Kell Brook has fought more bums, therefore more experience. That right there will play a big part, and you know, those things coupled with the 1-2s, right, makes it a great fighter. Kell Brook's a really good fighter. Kell Brook, as I said, is more accurate. I feel like Kell Brook's a better counterpuncher as well, and Errol Spence doesn't seem to be. I said he's a better defensive fighter than Sean Porter possibly, and also definitely more defensive than Triple G. Errol Spence is. I think Kell Brook can definitely exploit his defense. I think Kell Brook will be able to find the target. I think it's a harder target to find than Triple G's, but it's not harder by it's not too much harder, if that makes sense. Kell Brook can definitely fight him, and I think the power of Kell Brook will be more apparent against Errol Spence than it would be against Triple G. And against Triple G, you know, Kell Brook did make him. He did hurt him a little bit. He did definitely hurt him a little bit. And yeah, so that's really what I have to say. I'm fairly sure there are other advantages that I can't think of on top of my head. Kell Brook is not the best inside fighter against Errol Spence. Errol Spence is the better inside fighter, but Kell Brook is the better outside fighter. He's the better fighter on the back foot, and he can fight on the ropes, but I think Errol Spence will probably, if Kell Brook is pinned on the ropes, Errol Spence will get the better of him. He's better at putting the punches together. Kell Brook is a decent fighter on the front foot. We've seen that against Triple G, and he's a decent fighter on the back foot, and he can fight while being in the same position. That allows me to think that Kell Brook has a great potential to be able to control the center of the ring. And if he's able to control the center of the ring, just imagine, it means that he has to at times push Errol Spence back by landing 1-2s, maybe a 2-3, maybe a lead right hand to back Errol Spence up. And it'll be quite interesting to see Errol Spence backing up. He tends to be wanting to come forward. We've not seen Errol Spence back up. And I've not seen Errol Spence, how good he is as a back foot fighter. Is he a good counterpuncher like that? Because Kell Brook's the definite better counterpuncher. And Kell Brook has better body movement, in my opinion. He's a lot more slicker. He can slip punches a bit better. He has a better defense than Errol Spence. He's got good counters. He's not that good for body puncher, I think. I mean, actually no, I'm not. I take that back. What I mean is he's not known for body punches, but I'm fairly sure he can land a few body shots here and there as well. Test Errol Spence's body as well. Good timing, good control of range. Kell Brook is he's very fundamentally sound, and this should be a test for Errol Spence as well. I feel that this is this can go either way. As I said, Kell Brook has problems with those type of opponents, but at the same time, I've seen Errol Spence. He's able to get hit. He can get hit, right? But I've seen Errol Spence get hit by some straight punches. I mean, you know, you're gonna get hit. It's a fight, right? But Kell Brook can definitely hit you harder than anyone has ever hit you, possibly, and he's a lot more skilled. Kell Brook is a lot bigger than this world, bigger than any other opponent that Errol Spence has faced. That's kind of it, really. Those are the strengths and weaknesses of these different fighters. I'm SR93 Boxing. I'm out.